The cabin. Chapter 1, Into the Wilderness. Liam Kershaw adjusted the straps of his backpack, taking in the crisp mountain air. He had moved to Green Hollow just 6 months ago, seeking solace and simplicity after years of urban chaos. The solitude of the hiking trail felt unfamiliar, but that was precisely why he chose this path, to confront his unease with being alone. For hours, the hike was everything he had hoped for. Birds chirped, leaves whispered in the breeze, and the sun cast golden rays through the trees. It was only as dusk began to fall that the trail seemed unfamiliar. His map offered no clarity, and panic set in as the light faded. Chapter 2, The Cabin. As Liam stumbled through the dense forest, his flashlight flickered ominously. Just as despair began to creep in, a structure emerged from the shadows, the cabin. Its warped wood and broken shutters suggested abandonment, but it was shelter. Knocking yielded no response, and with a mixture of guilt and desperation, he let himself in. The cabin smelled of damp wood and decay. The sparse furnishings included a single bed and, oddly, a collection of portraits. Each painting depicted a different person, their unsettlingly wide grins seeming to follow Liam as he moved. Exhaustion eventually overpowered fear. He collapsed onto the bed, his eyes avoiding the grinning faces until sleep claimed him. Chapter 3, The Windows. Sunlight filtered through the cracks in the cabin as Liam woke. Stretching, he glanced around, and froze. The paintings were gone. In their place were windows, each revealing a different scene of the forest outside. One window showed a tree marked with strange, glowing symbols. Another revealed what appeared to be footprints in the dirt, leading away from the cabin. Confusion turned to dread. Had he imagined the paintings? And why did the windows show different views of the forest, as if the cabin were floating in space? Chapter 4, Uncovering the Mystery. Determined to make sense of his surroundings, Liam explored the cabin. Hidden under a loose floorboard, he discovered a bundle of old, yellowed papers. They contained detailed sketches of the forest and journal entries describing people who had disappeared while hiking. One entry stood out: the forest shifts with the mind. It knows you. It traps you. The forest, it seemed, was alive. Chapter 5, Meeting Elena. As Liam stepped outside, he spotted a figure among the trees, a woman with long, dark hair and piercing eyes. She introduced herself as Elena and claimed to be a researcher studying the strange phenomena of the area. "This forest has a way of drawing people in," she said. "It feeds on your fears, your regrets." But there was something in her tone, in the way she avoided his gaze, that made Liam uneasy. Was she truly an ally, or was she part of the forest's sinister design? Chapter 6, The Journal. Back in the cabin, Liam found a journal lying on the bed. Its cover was tattered, but it was unmistakably his. Flipping through its pages, he saw entries detailing his journey through the forest, his encounter with Elena, and his growing sense of dread. The final entry read, "I will become the guardian. There is no escape." Liam's blood ran cold. How could he have written this? Was it a warning or a prophecy? Chapter 7, The Truth of the Windows. As night fell, the windows began to change. They no longer showed the forest but instead displayed scenes of people, men, women, children, crying out for help. Their faces were twisted in terror, their hands pressed against the glass as if trying to break through. Elena arrived just as Liam was on the verge of breaking down. "The windows are a gateway," she explained. "They show the trapped souls of those who came before you. The cabin is the anchor. Destroy it, and you might free them, but the cost could be your own soul." Chapter 8, The Climactic Decision. Liam knew he couldn't let the cycle continue. Gathering his courage, he lit a fire and began to burn the cabin from the inside out. The walls groaned as if alive, the windows shattering one by one. The trapped soul screamed, not in pain, but in relief. As the flames consumed the cabin, Liam sprinted into the forest. For the first time, the trees seemed to guide him, clearing a path toward the morning light. Chapter 9: The Reflection. When Liam finally emerged from the forest, he collapsed by a stream, his reflection staring back at him. But as he leaned closer, the reflection smirked, a chilling, all too familiar grin. The forest had let him go, but it hadn't let him leave.